told you it was love. They convinced you it was normal. They made you believe the problem was you. But somewhere beneath the confusion, the self-doubt, the endless explanations that never quite made sense, you knew something was wrong. This is where we stop pretending. This is where we examine what they never wanted you to see. The patterns that controlled you, the systems that protected them. If you've ever walked away from a conversation with your narcissistic family member or partner, feeling emotionally drained, confused about what just happened, and somehow guilty for having feelings about their behavior, even though they're the one who hurt you, you've experienced the emotional exploitation of empathy. It's when your natural compassion gets weaponized against you, turned into a tool that serves their need for control while leaving you depleted and questioning your own reality. Maybe you tried to explain how their words affected you, only to watch them crumble into tears about how terrible they feel, leaving you comforting them instead of addressing your hurt. Maybe you set a boundary, and they responded with such dramatic self-loathing that you found yourself reassuring them rather than holding your ground. Maybe they shared their childhood trauma or current struggles right when you needed to confront their behavior, and suddenly you're the one apologizing. Welcome back to the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Podcast. I'm Lynn, your host. Today, we're exploring one of the most insidious forms of manipulation in narcissistic relationships, the emotional exploitation of empathy. We'll examine how your natural compassion becomes a target, why this leaves you feeling so confused and guilty, and most importantly, how to recognize when your empathy is being exploited versus genuinely appreciated. Empathy is a beautiful human capacity, the ability to understand and share in someone else's emotional experience. For scapegoats, empathy often runs especially deep because you've learned to be hypervigilant about other people's emotional states as a survival mechanism. You've been trained to prioritize everyone else's feelings over your own. But narcissists don't experience or use empathy the way healthy people do. They understand it intellectually and recognize it as a powerful tool for manipulation. They learn to exploit your empathetic nature to get what they want: attention, forgiveness, compliance, or simply to avoid accountability for their behavior. This exploitation happens through several predictable patterns. There's emotional hijacking, where the moment you express hurt or frustration about their behavior, they immediately shift into victim mode. They become so distressed about being confronted that you end up managing their emotions instead of addressing the original issue. You might have experienced this when trying to discuss their hurtful behavior, only to have them respond with statements like, "I'm the worst person in the world," or "I should just disappear," or "everyone would be better off without me." Suddenly, your legitimate concern becomes about reassuring them that they're not terrible, and the conversation never returns to your actual experience. There's also strategic vulnerability, where they share personal struggles, trauma, or difficulties precisely when you need to hold them accountable. This isn't genuine sharing. It's calculated to activate your empathy and make you feel cruel for maintaining boundaries or expectations. They might reveal their childhood abuse right when you're confronting their abusive behavior toward you. They'll share their mental health struggles when you're trying to discuss their impact on your mental health. They'll talk about feeling unloved exactly when you're expressing that their behavior makes you feel unloved. Emotional blackmail is another common tactic. They use your empathy to manipulate your behavior by threatening emotional consequences if you don't comply. "It would just destroy me if you moved away," or "I don't think I could handle it if you stopped calling every day," or "that would break my heart." They're not sharing their feelings. They're using the threat of their emotional distress to control your choices. Your empathy becomes the lever they use to override your autonomy. There's also the martyrdom performance where they paint themselves as perpetual victims who sacrifice everything for everyone else. They create elaborate narratives about their suffering and selflessness designed to make you feel guilty for having needs or expectations of your own. They might talk endlessly about how hard they work for the family while neglecting to mention their emotional abuse. They'll emphasize their financial contributions while ignoring their emotional devastation. They'll highlight every favor they've ever done while minimizing every boundary they've crossed. What makes this so confusing is that your empathy is a genuine strength. In healthy relationships, empathy creates connection, understanding, and mutual care. But narcissists exploit this beautiful quality by triggering it inappropriately and using it to serve their agenda rather than creating genuine intimacy. The key difference is reciprocity and timing. In healthy relationships, empathy flows both ways. People share vulnerabilities to create connection, not to avoid accountability. They consider your emotional state, not just their own. They don't weaponize their struggles to control your behavior. But when empathy is being exploited, it only flows one direction, toward them. Your emotional experience becomes irrelevant. Your pain gets minimized while theirs gets amplified. Your boundaries get overridden by their emotional needs. The exploitation also happens at strategically convenient times. They don't share their vulnerabilities when you're both calm and connected. They reveal them precisely when you're trying to address their behavior, set a boundary, or ask for change. The timing isn't coincidental. It's calculated. This leaves you in an impossible position. Your natural empathy tells you to respond with compassion, but something feels wrong about the interaction. You sense manipulation, but feel cruel for questioning their emotional experience. You end up doubting your own instincts and feeling guilty for having needs. The confusion is the point. They want you to question your reality, doubt your perceptions, and prioritize their emotional experience over your own. They want your empathy to become a trap that keeps you compliant and prevents you from holding them accountable. Understanding this exploitation doesn't mean becoming less empathetic. It means becoming more discerning about when and how you offer your empathy. It means recognizing that genuine emotional sharing creates connection, while emotional manipulation creates confusion and depletion. Your empathy deserves to be valued and reciprocated, not exploited and weaponized. You can maintain your compassionate nature while protecting it from those who would use it against you. When you reflect on your experiences with empathy in narcissistic relationships, can you identify the difference between moments when your compassion was genuinely appreciated versus when it was strategically exploited to serve their agenda? Thanks so much for listening today. If scapegoating has been part of your story, know that you're not alone in this, and healing is absolutely possible. I want to let you know about a few resources that can support you on this journey. First, if you're finding value in these episodes, we have ad-free versions available plus bonus content over on Supercast. You can check that out at narcissisticabuserecovery.supercast.com. It's a great way to dive deeper into these topics without interruptions. And if you're dealing with trauma that's stored in your body, somatic healing can be incredibly powerful. We've created 3 different audio healing sessions to help you release that stored tension and reconnect with yourself. There's a 10-minute somatic encounter to help you reconnect with your body, reclaim your power, and find your ground. we have a 25-minute intensive that's a somatic audio journey for letting go of stored grief and rage, and that one includes a transcript PDF. And there's a 45-minute intensive for deep mother and father healing. It's called The Body Remembers, and it's a deep somatic reset for women healing from emotional abandonment. You can get each of these individually or grab them all bundled together at our Gumroad store. That's waketheelephant.gumroad.com. This is Lynn, and this has been another episode of the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Podcast. I'll see you in the next episode. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. The content shared is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, please seek help from a qualified professional or contact a local crisis hotline.
To tip off this NBA season on FanDuel, you can choose your own rewards, which means you can play your game any way you want.
I get to choose my rewards?
Yep.
Great! Now, excuse me while I lock in.
All customers choose your own reward right now in the FanDuel app. 21 plus and present in select states. 18 plus in Kentucky. Opt-in required. Rewards are non-withdrawable. Restrictions apply, including bonus and token expiration, leg requirement, and max wager amount. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This work is hard, really hard. Questioning everything you were taught, seeing systems that were invisible, sitting with truth that change how you see the world. It's exhausting and overwhelming sometimes. There's no timeline for this, no right way to process it. We've gone daily now because these conversations matter. Subscribe so new episodes land automatically when they drop.